Okay, so this past weekend we ran the carts with the new spindles and the new hubs at Which Country Raceway out in Buckeye. Had a great time. The track was small but super fast and fun. Discovered that the turning radius on the new spindles is reduced from the old Azusa spindles, so we're going to fix that. I spoke to Jack at Vintage Kart Co. He said that on the new ones they're going to make of this style, they're going to adjust it to where the gusset will clear the C bracket a little bit more so that you have more turning radius. What happened is because they increased the size of the diameter of the pipe, basically for the kingpin to go through where the new bushings are at, it made it a bigger pipe, so it moved the gusset over slightly, which is causing interference with the C-clamp. So I'll show you what that looks like here in a second, but basically we're going to cut these apart, cut the gusset off, move the gusset over, about a 1/4 inch probably is all it's going to take, weld it back on, and that should increase the turning radius. Okay, so these are the new bushings and spindles by Vintage Kart Co. designed to fit the Azusa spindle. So this is pretty much straightforward, and when we turn the wheel in, you see that the gusset right here is hitting the C-clamp, or I don't know what you really call this. I just call it a C, the weldment that you weld to your axle. So it's interfering right here. So we're going to cut this gusset off, this piece right here, cut this off free from this other gusset, move it inboard a little bit. There's room there to do that, probably about the length or the thickness of this little offset, which would be perfect. If we put that in line with this, it should fit just right. So we're going to take this apart, cut that off, and re-weld it. Okay, so I've got the new spindle removed, and in comparing with the old Azusa spindle, you can see how much, I'll line them up here, how much thicker the new one is compared to the old one. So you see the offsets there. Anyway, when I put them on top of each other, I do this and hold the phone at the same time. Well, this isn't working. When I line them up like this, the old tube almost fits in the new tube. So when we welded these together, the offset is about that distance. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut pretty much right along here. So this line is going to continue all the way back here. So we're going to cut this back, and this gusset is going to be moved inboard slightly to where this is no longer going to, kind of sits proud right now. You kind of see there it sits out, so it's going to sit flush, or on the Azusa it pretty much sits flush. So that gusset is flush with the outside of the tube here. So we're going to do the same thing here. So this is going to get cut off and re-welded inboard. So that's what we're going to do next. Okay, so we cut the gusset off, so there it is. I had to trim it up a little bit to make it a little smaller and clean it up. But it cut right off. I cut it here and along the shaft there. So this fits right along there. It'll get welded. And we're just trying to make sure it's not proud of the main tube here. So check it against this, and it's inside that square a little bit. So that should clear the bracket. So we'll get that welded up and installed and test it, and then we'll do the other side. So far I've got about 20-30 minutes in this, not too much time, not terribly complicated, just cutting this little piece off, fitting it again so it doesn't, had to shorten it slightly because we're moving its position, so it's going to shrink a little bit. So, and of course I cut a little bit off here to make that pretty straight because it had a little bit extra material out here that was pretty much flush with this outside piece. So I cut it's about a 1/4 inch or so when you count this thickness, and the piece that's off of here, that's a little piece right there that's a little too much material. So we're going to re-weld that. We'll weld it on both sides. I'm going to tack it just at first to make sure it fits, but this side, and then we're going to weld it on both sides of this so it's nice and strong, and that should take care of it. Okay, so we got it welded up. I already dry fitted it, fit perfect. So welded along the gusset there, along the pipe, on the other side as well. Back side, I'll clean that up a little bit with the grinding wheel just to make it look a little prettier. Got some splatter on there. So yeah, the welder did a good job. Pretty happy with that. I think that's going to solve the turning radius problem. So I'll do the other side next, and pick up from there. Okay, so we're ready for a little road test. I'm going to try my turning radius. Awesome. So that's about 5 feet shorter than what the original setup was. So that's a huge improvement. And I can go lock to lock without, you see there, that does not lock up. Full lock, the guessing does not touch. It's on the driver's side. Passenger side, it just touches right at the complete edge. So it's actually not a bad thing. It kind of protects the steering. So that's going to work out fine. Okay, so while I was doing this upgrade, I added one more thing. We basically put a capture nut on here, or what would be a capture nut, to keep this bolt from spinning inside the C-clamp. So I call it a C-clamp, whatever, the C-fixture, C-weldment, whatever, where the kingpin goes through. So this stops it from moving. It still can come in and out. I just welded a cotter key onto here, did it on both sides, just one little bead of weld right along here. And so the next step is just painting all this, make it show ready. But the upgrades work great. This came together really well. Turning radius is exactly where it needs to be. Geometry is much better. There's no slop in the front end. I can shake the Jesus out of this thing and it barely moves at all. I mean, that was so much of an improvement. So next thing is to get this thing cleaned up and ready for the Clarkdale Grand Prix coming up in a few weeks. Thanks for watching. If you want to know more about cycle karting, subscribe to our videos. If you want to really know a lot about cycle karting, check out Dennis Thomas on YouTube. Dennis Thomas. He's got a fantastic YouTube channel. He's the one that got me started on all this crazy mayhem. And anyway, thanks for watching. Have a great day.